I'm Byron F. Wilson, founder of the Wilson Academy. The riots that have taken place all over the country and now all over the world are inevitable. And contrary to the opinions of some, the riots are both effective and necessary. The problem is, it's not a sustainable path to what we want. But then what next? What are we supposed to do? That's what this message is about, what we're going to do. Young people, my college students, my high school students, you're ready to act. You're ready to fight. But no one's listening to you. They just keep telling you to go home. But I hear you, and we have a plan. In order to find a solution, we must first understand why this is happening. The reason that officers of the law and private citizens acting as if they're officers of the law continue to murder us is because we can offer no consequence. For example, the reason you don't see Jewish people being murdered by police is because the Jewish community can provide economic consequences. They own things collectively. They're well invested in the media and the law, and they've built a strong community by focusing on exclusive internal growth and wealth building. But when members of the black community are murdered by white officers or vigilantes, we peacefully protest, focus on whatever election is upcoming, and ultimately, there are no convictions for the criminals. There's something that we missed about how the civil rights movement was effective. Protesting was just the beginning. It was to unify the people and bring attention to the issue. But the next step was always economic action, boycotting, investing in our communities. Then that economic action is what forced legislation. The reason our efforts continue to fail is because we first of all keep asking for change instead of forcing it. But secondly, because we keep skipping a critical step in the process. So what do we want? Well, in the short term, we demand justice. In the long term, we demand reform. But we must be specific if we are to hold our nation accountable. So we demand three things. One, we demand convictions and equitable and appropriate prison time for all officers involved in the murders of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd and all parties involved in the lynching of Ahmaud Arbery. Two, we demand legislation that ensures independent review of public safety officers. And three, we demand a modification to the standards by which officers can be prosecuted. I'm sure you've heard people say, if you want change, get to the polls. Now, I'm not suggesting voting is useless, but the reality is voting will not solve our problems. In fact, we cannot allow ourselves to become distracted by political affiliations. The only way to get the change we seek is to show strength both economically and physically. So first, let's address physical strength. It is both irrational and un-American for us to continue to be met with force and not respond in kind. This is why we need all able black Americans to exercise their constitutional rights and legally acquire a firearm. Perhaps Ahmaud Arbery wouldn't be alive right now had he been able to defend himself against the thugs who lynched him. And under Georgia's Stand Your Ground laws, well, he would have been within his legal rights. To all my gangbangers, my Bloods, my Crips, GDs, folk, everybody, I'm asking you to help us protect our communities from the white supremacist groups who would harm us. You are already armed and you're not afraid to die. I hope that you see fit to call a truce and unite against a greater common enemy in order to protect our children, our mothers, our sisters, aunties, and grandmothers. Now we must address how we fight economically. America doesn't particularly care about black life. If it did, we wouldn't still be facing what we're facing right now. What America does care about is black dollars. So we have to start speaking America's language. Effective immediately, we will only buy food from black-owned restaurants. This does not apply to grocery stores, as we don't feel there are enough black-owned grocery stores nationwide at this point to accommodate the initiative. However, there are many grocery items you can find on sites like WeBuyBlack.com. Now, our Black-Owned Restaurant Initiative means that you will need to avoid many of your favorite restaurants, but you will discover new Black-owned favorites. And you must ask yourself what's more important. Understand that this is only phase one of a larger plan. We will implement phase two in the weeks to come. But this is something that everyone can do. So what's the point? And why will this work? According to both Nielsen and the CDC, black people eat more fast food than anyone. By diverting our billions of dollars, we will accomplish two things. One, change is not free. Supporting only black restaurants keeps our money in our communities, money we can ultimately leverage to create the changes we all want to see. And two, it uses our money we're already spending anyway, to create powerful billionaire allies. These companies will do what is necessary to get our dollars back. And if that means helping us to meet our objectives, well, then that's what they'll do. There are a few important notes to make when concerning this plan. This is not a boycott. We are not punishing white businesses. We are simply consumers who are making a choice to exclusively support black restaurants in the strategic interest of justice and reform. Please note that we are exclusively supporting black-owned restaurants, not minority-owned. The terms black and minority are not interchangeable. So, to my Chinese, Korean, Arabic, and Indian restaurant owners, we have nothing against you personally. But if we don't do this now, there will be none of us left to buy your products anyway. If a franchise location is owned by a black person, eat at that location exclusively. We will not harm our own people. There are websites like eatblackowned.com that you can use to find black-owned restaurants in your area. But I'm confident that once everyone learns of our initiative, they'll let you know how to find them. We will not support non-equitable services. We will support black restaurants that offer the quality and service we deserve. And if we have a negative experience, we will not generalize and say, see, this is why I don't support black businesses. We will simply express our concerns to the management, and if we so choose, we just won't go back to that particular restaurant, just as we would behave with a restaurant that isn't black-owned. This is not a one-day event. Did you know that the famous Montgomery bus boycott lasted over a year? 381 days to be exact. It takes time and consistency to have impact, just as it took time and consistency to implement the racist constructs we are fighting. We will continue with our strategy until our demands are met. At times, this will not be easy. You will be tempted to stray. But please accept that there can be no change without sacrifice. A brief message to white Americans. We don't hate you. We don't hate America. We just need it to work for us in the same way it works for you. Please stop saying all lives matter. Saying all lives matter is like one house in a subdivision is on fire. The fire truck arrives and you ask the fireman to douse your house with water, even though it's not on fire, because your house is important too. We've been asking for equality for hundreds of years now. Please process that. Understand, we're done asking. This word you see on my shirt is ukurua. It's Zulu. It means fight. Black people, I need us to know that we are bigger than slavery. Our existence didn't begin when we became useful to America. We have our own continent, our own African culture, our own independent history. We are better than begging to not be murdered. The time has come for us to fight, and now we know how. Now, this plan cannot work if people don't know about it. So if you do nothing else, it's important that you share this post or the link to this post on all your social media. And whenever you mention the plan, please use the hashtag #HowWeFight. You can find a hard copy of the plan at thewilsonacademy.org. Remember, hashtag #HowWeFight. Share the post.